Thank you for joining us. You are on Tempo Afric TV and your show Point of View. I'm your host, Mr. Herman Lomanga. Today we're gonna talk about budget. That's why I have my guest, Mr. ALIOUNE Sam. Which one we're gonna talk about budget today? Mr. ALIOUNE Sam, how are you today?
I'm good, Herman. Thank you.
As far as not our view, like to know more about budget. What you have to say about budget?
Thank you, Herman, and thank you to all our viewers to always be with us here at Tempo Afric. Budget is a planning. It's an allocation of one's resources. Meaning, for example, to simplify the story, your monthly income is $1. And you say, I would take 10 cents and I will spend it somewhere. I will take 25 cents, I'll spend it somewhere. The government will take this much, and this is how much I will be saving. In a nutshell, that's what a budget is. It doesn't matter for a company, for an individual, or for a family.
You already touched my next question because my next question was back about how many type of budget do we have in general?
Budget, everybody has a budget, from companies, individuals, states. Everybody who has resources allocates those resources. And you allocate those resources. Some people base it monthly, some people base it quarterly, some people base it on a semester base, some people base it on a yearly basis. Like the government of the United States every year allocates a certain amount to, let's say, sports, health, etc., etc. As individuals, we do the same.
Okay, that's why I want us really to be more focused today about individual budget. What I mean by individual budget, like personal budget, and also maybe if we have time, we can touch up a little bit about business budget, like a commercial budget. Can you tell us like a personal budget? How do we can do, especially us? When I say us, I mean by African diaspora, people who live overseas, people who live abroad. How do we can do to make sure like we have a good budget for us African living abroad?
That's a good question. The budget has to be allocated in two places. What I mean by that is there is what we call necessities. Necessities are, I have a place to live, I need food, I need a roof, I need a car maybe to drive me from work. What are the necessities in my life? What are the things that I have to have in order to be able to live? So those are the necessities. So that's essential. And then we have what we call now the variables. The variables are what? Is entertainment. Do I go out to the restaurant? How many clothes do I, the clothes that I want, So those are things that are not so much necessities because yes, I need certain clothes to live, but certain other clothes is more because I want it. So those are the things now that we have to figure out how to allocate those funds in terms of our living conditions.
As far as we are concerned, especially as Africans, every time when we go to work, we get paid, and when we get paid, we use that money for our necessity and whatever, as Mr. Lune just say about it, like, your expense, how to do your budget. But we got a problem as an African. The money that we're sending home to our family, do we have to include that inside our budget?
It has to. And if it's a necessity in terms of I have to send, let's say, $200 to my mom every month, that is part of a necessity because if I don't send that $200 a month, they will not live at home. So that is part of an obligation. What we call obligations are the spendings that we cannot not do. So we have to sit down and be honest with ourselves and say, okay, I pay rent $1,000 a month. Okay, that $1,000, is it only on me? Do I share it with a wife? Do I share it with a roommate? Do I share it with friends? Those are the questions that we have to answer. And now we calculate, if I share it with somebody else, the budget goes from $1,000 to $500. If I share it with a wife, because now, she works
family,
for family, then we can allocate this. And it's being honest with ourselves and saying, okay, at the end of the month, combined, we make $2. But if we spend that $2 properly, there is what we call disposable income. The disposable income is what is it about in $1 that we earn, how much can we spend into savings? Because savings is also a spending.
We're gonna touch back to that disposable income you just say, but from us Africans, every time we send money back home, we don't include that as our expenses, and that's the reason why maybe we create a situation like it's not part of our budget because we feel more obligated to send them money. But as Mr. Alun say, keep in mind, Mr. Alun is a businessman, he's a banker living in Minnesota. As you just said, you have to include everything that is necessity for you or your family or your loved one to survive. You have to include that inside your budget. If you don't, and that's why maybe we're having so much difficulty. I want to come back to the one you just say about what was that again?
Disposable income.
Here we go. Disposable income. Can you touch base a little bit about that one because that sounds very interesting.
The disposable income is if you live in America, for example, on every dollar that we earn as income, Uncle Sam takes at least 25 cents at the bare minimum. So in real terms, we only earn 75 cents. Okay, out of that 75 cents, there is something that is necessity is a roof, because this is a very cold place. I have to have a roof. That roof could be a house that you own. We'll get back to that, or an apartment that I rent. If I rent an apartment, the only problem is every dollar that I put there at the end of the year, I don't get anything back. If I own a place, no matter what, I am dumping money into the place, but with time, I have more investment because there is what we call equity in America. Equity means what? Is that I bought this house right now at $100. 5 years from now, the house is worth $200. Meaning, I've gained almost 100% of what
You put in.
I put in.
That's what we call information. That's why Tempo Africa TV is here to inform us, to let us know what we feel, what we know, so you home you can see how you can do your own budget. If you want to join the conversation, you can still call us at Tempo Africa TV phone number 612-224-2020. Mr. Allen, you touch base about the earning income. I mean the money that we save, and wherever we're using that money, we got to be very careful how to use it. When you're renting, it's like you're dumping the money. And also, if you have a chance to buy a house and you make good investment, that's the reason why today we want to talk about budget. How do we can do to get to that point so we can save some money and make that money our own investment?
The disposable income that I touched a little bit earlier is the goal is, let's say if you are Bill Gates, on $1 that you earn, you may be spending 10 cents. So
That sounds good.
So 90 cents is pretty much what we call disposable income. That's what we call investment money. Investment money means that I have enough money right now to go into different adventures, different opportunities. If I am an individual, we go through the same thing. Maybe on $1, on every $1 that I earn, I may be able to save 5 cents, 10 cents. But accumulated through time, I can become a small investor. That small investment starts with the home, starts with my small business that I have on the side, starts on the tontines that we put on the side. All of those are opportunities for investment. Investment just means that it's dollar that I'm not spending today, that I'm planning to grow for tomorrow for better opportunities. I changed myself from what I call the habit of being a hunter to a farmer. A farmer is somebody who keeps his grains today and says, I'm gonna not eat this today, I'm gonna put it on the ground, but I'm hoping it will yield me more tomorrow. A hunter is a guy who wakes up every morning, and has to hope that God gives him something to eat. And that's the huge difference.
Temple Africa TV is here to inform you. What Mr. ALIOUNE say really makes sense. The difference between a hunter and a farmer. I have nothing else to say. Just follow what he say, because what he say make good sense. We feel sometimes like we are hunters, and some of us feel like they are farmers. It's up to you, but we are here to share what we know with you so you can make your own decision when it comes to the budget. The budget, as far as we know about budget, is most likely your earning income minus your expenses. The way you explain that, the necessity expenses and the not necessity expenses. Whatever we do on our budget, I'm talking especially for us like Africans living abroad, whatever we do with our expenses and our inside our budget, we seems like we don't get anywhere. What's that? And what we can do so we can at least get somewhere with our budget. Doesn't matter how much you earn, as you say earlier, like $10 an hour. What we can do so we can have at least save 2 cents from our earning income, so we can have those savings turned out to our own investment to see what we can do in the future.
Thank you. Every society has what we call a collective hypnosis.
What that means?
The collective hypnosis is like, I would take the case of Africans living in America.
Okay.
We are the most educated group in this powerful nation called America.
Do you guys, did you hear that what you just say? We are the most educated people living on this powerful place that we call America. But we don't use it the way we're supposed to. Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
That is part of our collective hypnosis. No matter how poor we are, our parents tell us we have to be educated. And it is ingrained in us that we have to have education, no matter what it takes. We force ourselves because it's an expectation that we have of ourselves. With money, we have what we call spendings of prestige.
Now you're talking.
The spending of prestige is our appearance. We spend a lot of time and energy in things that doesn't really matter, but culturally, we've ingrained it in ourselves that we have to pretend that we're already rich. So you see that in what we call the basketball players syndrome or the sports people syndrome in America. People that earn a lot of income. Money that I can work my entire life, I'll never see. You're talking about 20 million a year income. Yeah. And within 5 years from the time that they leave sports, most of them are broke. And when I say broke is they have to move back into their old neighborhoods to be able to survive because they haven't kept any money. And unfortunately, we do the same thing. We come to America, we work hard, sometimes 2-3 jobs. We make a lot of money. When I say we make a lot of money in terms of our earnings, it's a huge potential. The Africans that live here make more money than some of our states that we come from in terms of collective income.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you calculate the average income that we make as Africans, it's a lot compared to the places that we come from.
That really explains that, because the way we send money back home and the Western Union do the annual budget for Western Union, they never see the last 15 years. The first people who are immigrant, when I mean immigrant, people who come aboard living in the US, the one who send money more than Africa. There is nobody else in the US send money more than Africans back home. And that really makes sense. Yeah, continue, Mr. Ali.
So where we're falling short is on allocation. We do not allocate enough money in what I call investment. What does that mean? We're here, we work. The property that we built at home, if it's for rental, that's an investment. An investment is anything that would generate funds without me having to do anything. So let's say I bought a taxi and I send it, or a car and I send it back at home. Instead of having to send every month money, I say, okay, out of this car right now, 50% of the money that generates from this car right now would be allocated into the survival of my family that I left behind. But the problem is this: we tell each other horrible stories. Oh, Herman, did you hear about Peter? What happened to Peter? You say, oh, Peter had sent a car home. But guess what? His cousin, his uncle, his dad, his whoever the member of the family took the car and allocated this money to himself. So guess what? Herman doesn't send a car. He doesn't do anything at home. He keeps on sending money. But now we created a logic where we can never win. So it's a loss-loss. So it's an equation with no solution, because now we created a paradigm where there is no outlets. So you created your own doomsday. So we have to stop threatening ourselves and fearing our own shadows. Because at the end of the day, 0 times 0 equals what?
0. That's why a mind is a terrible thing to waste. The way we conceive things lets our body react the way we conceive things. And from us, especially African, the story Mr. ALIOUNE just said, I think that's the main problem. Because all of us here, we send money to our family back home. If you have the heart to help your family, to do whatever you do so it can help you, so you can budge for your own future while you're still helping them, it's good for you to be always with Tempo Africa TV, because from us you may learn something, and also you can teach us something else by calling us to 612-224-2020. We got an issue, that's why we bring it up to you, so between us and you we can talk together and see what we can do better so we can be successful. We come in this country with one idea: to make it. Are we making it? That's the question. That's why we are here to explain to ourselves and to explain to you too, so you can understand. Like, we are here to open up your mind, and also you to help us, so we both together we can grow and go far away. We're talking about budget today, how we can do our budget. We have Mr. ALIOUNE, our guest, to help us to understand what the meaning of budget. The budget, most likely, is everything you earn minus your expenses, which one create your saving. And now we're at the point, like, that saving, you can make that saving your investment to help you on the future. Are we doing a good budget as African in US in general?
We Africans don't like planning. We don't like projecting something in the future. We are reactive. What we do most of the time is, there is a crisis, we react to the crisis. We wait for the next crisis, we react to it. A planning just means that I sit down and I take a piece of pen. This is mathematics that we learn in primary school. And I say my rent is X. My car insurance is this. This is how much I pay for gas. This is, I allocate every penny to at the end of the month. This is how much I pay for food. This is how much I pay for health insurance, because those are basic needs.
And this is how much I send back home, because
That's
we intend not to including the money we sending to our moms,
That's
our
exactly.
parents back home, because we feel like we don't want to count that because they did a lot of. But when it comes to the budget, you have to include all that money so you can know exactly how much is your expenses. Then the remaining money, you can put that in a saving and do what you think you can do for investment in the future.
And that saving money has to be allocated too. The saving money can be allocated via what we call here a 401k. If you are working for a company, for any company, because most of us work for companies, doesn't matter, small and in between. If you take 10 cents out up front, that means that 10 cents out of $1, that's 10% of my income is already saved. That I paid myself already. Because people work, but they don't pay themselves. You have to pay yourself first. Before you pay any bill, you have to say 5%, 10% of my money is to pay myself. The first bill is myself.
Thank you, our view. This is the way Tempo Africa TV come to you to let you know what we know. If you work, as like me, I work every day. And if I cannot pay myself, it's not even worth it for me to work. Because I'm the only guy who stand up in the morning, clean up the snow on my car, and drive my own car to go where I call my job. And once I earn that income, if I cannot pay myself, it's not worth it. It doesn't mean like stop working. It only means like open up your mind, understand like the expense you have to do. The first one is you to pay yourself. There's so many different ways to pay yourself. That's why we have Mr. ALIOUNE, so he can explain to us how we can pay ourselves. Go ahead, Mr. ALIOUNE.
So like I was saying, if you pay yourself first on the 401k at the 10 cents, 5 cents, so the government can only tap to the 90 cents. So instead of paying tax right away at $1, I'm paying tax on 90 cents. And now the company that I work with at the bare minimum will match you at 3%, 5%, or 6%. So that's
some of them, they give you dollar to dollar. Some company,
somebody.
they do that dollar to dollar. We put your investment.
So which is very good. So if I had saved already 10 cents and they're giving me 5 cents or 6 cents, so I automatically have a saving now of 15 cents to 16 cents instead of just the 10 cents. Without counting now, the allocation of that money goes into what we call investment in the US. So that goes into mutual funds. It goes into the stock market. So that 16 cents potentially becomes 20 cents, becomes 25 cents, and so on and so forth. So while I'm working, my money works for me, because what people forget, money never sleeps. So if I have money that is sitting into my own home, because I bought my own home, I own it, 5 years, let's say, because the market right now is giving us 14-15% return every year, the housing market. Meaning that almost every 6-7 years, I double my investment. If I bought the house at 100, 6-7 years from the time that I bought it, the house now is worth 200,000. If let's say now I had borrowed 100,000, I paid it down to 50,000, that's $150,000 of disposable income. I can sell the house at any given time. I can go back to Africa. I can become an investor.
Well, that's where we have a problem. That's where we have a problem as African. We don't, wherever you have a job, we don't pay attention what we call investment at work. 401k, mutual fund, we don't care about that. We have the mindset like this is for, excuse my language, this is for the people who are going to live here. We are not going to live here. We are here temporary. Because we are here temporary, we collect our money, we don't want to invest the money, and we pack up the stuff, we go back home. Most likely, after 15, 20 years, we are not going anywhere, and we still on the same place. If we invest on 401k, by the time we get our first or second or third job, as we change jobs all the time, maybe after 15 years, we may have at least $20,000-$25,000 waiting somewhere for us. Change your mind, understand, do your research, and especially following Tempo Africa TV, you're gonna learn more as we progress, and we learn more from you too. Mr. ALIOUNE, please, you can continue.
So it's exactly what I was talking about earlier. It's the collective hypnosis. If we change the same way we push ourselves into becoming educated, we can push ourselves to become investors. To say, hey, you know what, Herman came here 5 years ago. Now he owns 3 stores. Herman came here, and we have to be happy. And that's the part that I have to insist. We have to be happy on our successes. If everybody around you is poor, if you're in difficulties, guess what? None of them can save you. It's like everybody in your neighborhood doesn't have water, and there is fire in your house. Guess what? Even if they wanted to help you, they cannot help you
Because
they
there
have
is
no
no
water.
water.
But if they're digging a well and you came and you helped them dig that well, and every single house in the neighborhood has a well, guess what? If there is fire in your house, every neighbor of yours can come and put the fire off. So we have to be happy into each other's success and help each other in succeeding.
You follow what Mr. ALIOUNE say, and those are the reasons why we don't put our hands together. African proverbs say this: if you wanna go far, go with someone. If you wanna go fast, go alone. We tend to go alone all the time because we know, like, what we got, nobody else has that. But if we dig a well and everybody come to help to dig a well, guess what? When the fire come up, everybody gonna use the same water from the well to put up the fire wherever the house get, because that person contribute. We got to be very, very happy from the individual success of our friends, our neighbor, people who left the country to come here to be together, living in this country. Which one we call we are in transit. But for me, I say we are here to live. Before you pack up the things, you got to think twice. What do I pack up to go back home? And if you want to stay, it's your choice. But as far as we are here, we got to do everything we can to survive here. That's why it's very good to get education, to work, to earn income, and also to invest. That's why Tempo Africa TV is here, to talk to you so you can get a point what we try to do for us, and nothing from but us to help each other. Mr. ALIOUNE, please, you can continue what you were saying. It's very interesting.
So if collectively we start supporting ourselves, collectively then we become institutions. We become new institutions. Institutions are built from culture. Institutions are built from a lived experience. If each of us now get used to getting out of that mindset of poverty, but become people now that are comfortable with affluence, then you would see that we will stop this prestige, this spending of prestige that is killing us. You have people that make a little bit money, you give them 5-10 years, they spend all the money and they become broke. Because they appeared rich, but they were never rich. Rich is something that transcends you, meaning that from generation to generation can be passed. Meaning it's not money that just goes through me. If I can build an institution that I can transfer to my son, that he can do something with it, then we have wealth. It is something that can transcend us. And that mindset, though, we have to collectively rehypnotize ourselves to get to that point where right now we can see ourselves as people that are capable of being investors instead of consumers. A consumer is somebody that takes his money, he burns it out in the marketplace, he makes other people rich, but he never gets anything out of it.
That's why we have Tempo Africa TV. I really enjoyed the show today with Mr. ALIOUNE because what he say really makes sense. We tend more to go for our appearance, the way we appear, the way we look, where we live, the car we drive. But on the end of the day, when it comes to the richness, we still poor inside because we know it. To be rich is someone who have his investment, this money working for him, not him to be a hunter for the money, but him to have the money working for him while he's sleeping. If you really feel like you're rich, that's good. But just think about this. When is the last time you took all your family vacation to go somewhere and to spend that money and to come back without worrying? Because the people who do that, they have investment somewhere. The money is working for them while they went to the vacation. We really thank you to be with us on this show today. And we thank Mr. ALIOUNE for what he told us today about our budget. Keep in your mind, your budget is about you, what you think you can do with your money. And we are here to tell you everything you earn minus your expenses, the money who's gonna left is your saving, and make sure you use that saving for your investment for your future. Stay connected with Tepo Africa TV. We're gonna see next our show, Grand Débat, with our friend Ms. Serge Nawa, coming up next. Thank you very much for watching Point of View, and we'll be with you for the next time. Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Herman.
That's it for us today. What?